True confidence has nothing to do with believing you're great. It comes from knowing exactly what you are. Shadow and light, weakness and strength, devil and angel, and being completely at peace with all of it. Carl Gustav Jung discovered that people who achieve this kind of radical self-knowledge develop what others perceive as dangerous confidence. This confidence isn't the loud, brittle boastfulness of arrogance, nor the superficial performance of bravado. It's something far more threatening to the status quo, the unshakable certainty of someone who has stared into their worst inner darkness and integrated it into their highest capabilities. They've reconciled their conscious ideals with their unconscious realities. After you fully grasp the principles I'm about to share, you'll never again need external validation. You'll never fear judgment. You'll never doubt your intrinsic worth. And that is precisely what makes you dangerous to every fragile system, be it social, political, or even interpersonal, that depends on your insecurity for its own maintenance and control. Jung spent his life studying what truly creates genuine confidence versus its cheap, illusory substitutes. He found that most outwardly confident people are actually engaged in a relentless effort to compensate for a deep, underlying sense of inadequacy. Their public confidence is merely a performance, a meticulously crafted persona, acting as a defense against internal feelings of inferiority and shame. But there is another kind of confidence, rare, authentic, and utterly unshakable. It originates from only one source, a complete, unflinching consciousness of who and what you are. When you truly know your shadows, own your projections, and consciously achieve psychological wholeness through individuation, you become psychologically invulnerable. And that invulnerability is the energy that others experience as dangerous confidence. Because someone who knows themselves completely cannot be manipulated, cannot be shamed, and, most importantly, cannot be controlled. Let us explore the profound sources of this power in detail. The first wellspring of this dangerous confidence lies in realizing that everything you currently label as a weakness is actually a strength in disguise. Jung's concept of the shadow is fundamental here. Strength of profound empathy and intuition. They are connected to the deep currents of the collective unconscious, receiving subtle data others miss. The individual everyone calls too sensitive? They possess a strength of profound perception that allows them to register subtle shifts in the environment or in the human psyche long before others do. This sensitivity is a form of psychic antennae. Your confidence explodes when you realize you don't actually have weaknesses in the conventional fixed sense. You have unrecognized strengths, raw psychic energy demanding to be integrated and refined. Jung witnessed this transformation repeatedly. A patient, obsessed with trying to eliminate a perceived flaw, would discover through deep self-analysis that this very flaw was, in essence, their superpower, being expressed in a chaotic, unconscious, and often self-sabotaging manner. This realization creates a confidence that is unshakable because it is based on truth, not fragile pretense. You stop trying to hide your weaknesses and start wielding them as unique assets. You cease apologizing for who you are and begin to amplify your authentic self. What makes this confidence dangerous is that when you truly own your shadows as strengths, you become immune to external shame or criticism. Someone calls you selfish? You can calmly respond, "Yes, I have healthy selfishness that maintains my boundaries and protects my energy, a necessity for my creative work." Someone says, "You're too intense?" You affirm, "Yes, my intensity is the focused driving force that creates transformation in complex fields." You do not defensively argue because there is nothing to defend against. You do not deny because you own it all. And that total, unapologetic ownership becomes power. This is the first key. Stop seeing your traits as merely good or bad. See them as natural, archetypal forces that must be expressed consciously. The second critical source of power lies in realizing a profound, historical truth. You've already survived everything you're afraid of. Jung's insight was that our deepest, most paralyzing fears are rarely about future, abstract dangers. They are, in fact, memories of past trauma or intense experiences that were never fully processed and remain stored as activated. Confidence becomes dangerous because you know at the deepest level that you are psychologically indestructible. You've already been shattered and reformed. You've already faced annihilation and emerged, fulfilling the mythological journey of the hero archetype. Jung himself documented this process during his intense confrontation with the unconscious, a 7-year period of psychological crisis that led to his revolutionary work. He faced visions that challenged his sanity and emotions that threatened to overwhelm him. Yet he survived and integrated these experiences, transforming them into the wellspring of his insight. He famously wrote, "I have fallen into the abyss and discovered it has a bottom." The bottom, for him, was the self, the core of his being. This realization makes your confidence dangerous because you are no longer controllable through fear. Threats, shame, and the fear of abandonment lose their leverage over someone who has already faced their worst nightmares and survived. You become psychologically invulnerable, not because nothing can hurt you, but because you possess the absolute certainty of your ability to endure and heal. The evidence is your own existence. You walk through the world knowing that whatever happens, you will handle it, because you always have. Your survival record is quite literally 100%. The third source of dangerous confidence. Integrating your shadow makes you psychologically complete, and complete people are unstoppable. Jung meticulously detailed how most people's confidence remains inherently fragile because it's based on identifying solely with their good parts, the light, while actively rejecting their bad parts, the dark. They maintain a persona of purity, terrified that their hidden darkness might be exposed, leaving them permanently exhausted by internal conflict. But when you truly integrate your shadow, when you embrace your capacity for darkness as completely as your capacity for light, you become invulnerable to exposure, because there is literally nothing hidden left to expose. You acknowledge your capacity for necessary cruelty, so external accusations of being cruel do not destabilize you. You know you contain destructive impulses, so being seen as destructive doesn't shock you. This creates dangerous confidence because warrior archetype. Your integrated selfishness becomes the foundation for healthy, non-negotiable boundary setting, the power of the sovereign archetype. Your integrated destructive impulse becomes the power to destroy the old restrictive structures that need replacing, the power of the alchemist. Jung experienced this directly. He discovered within himself the capacity for manipulation, deception, and the very cruelties he observed in others. By integrating them, they became his internal radar, allowing him to see through external manipulation and to use strategic decisiveness when kindness would be harmful. As one of his students noted, he was the most dangerous man I'd ever met because he knew his own evil. A man who knows his evil can consciously choose not to use it. A man who denies his evil uses it unconsciously, constantly, projecting his darkness onto the world. The fourth source of dangerous confidence, realizing you've been waiting for permission that was never coming and was never needed. Jung observed that most individuals spend their entire lives seeking external validation to be themselves. They wait for parents, institutions, or society to authorize their chosen path, making their confidence entirely contingent on external permission that rarely, if ever, comes fully. But the journey of individuation, the path to becoming the unique, unrepeatable individual you were meant to be, demands taking the authority structures from the outside world and locating them inside the self. You cease seeking permission and start granting it to yourself. This act of self-authorization creates dangerous confidence, because someone who doesn't require permission cannot be controlled through social or hierarchical approval systems. Jung's pivotal break with his mentor, Sigmund Freud, was fundamentally about this need for self-authorization. Freud sought to be the patriarchal figure who ratified Jung's ideas. Jung realized that his profound exploration of the psyche did not require Freud's ratification. He lost his mentor and his professional standing, but gained something priceless: psychological sovereignty. This is what makes confidence dangerous. When you don't need permission, you become unpredictable, uncontrollable, and unstoppable. You don't require external authorization to completely change your life, express your authentic truth, or reject limiting expectations. The illusion is that depends on keeping you in a state of dependency and perpetual immaturity. You simply stop recognizing the authority of external forces over your internal reality. The fifth source of dangerous confidence. You've seen behind the veil and know how the psychological game really works. Once you deeply understand projection, the shadow, the unconscious, and how the human psyche actually operates, you can never return to a state of naive consciousness. You see what others cannot see. You understand what others don't comprehend. This intimate knowledge makes you dangerously confident, because you are no longer fooled by the collective illusions that bind everyone else. You know that most people are unconsciously projecting constantly, driven by their unacknowledged shadows and their complexes. You realize that what people claim they want and what they actually want, driven by unconscious desires, are often two radically different things. Surface conflicts are merely masks for deeper archetypal dynamics. This level of awareness is akin to possessing X-ray vision in a world of mere surface appearances. You see the psychological skeletons beneath the social skin. Jung experienced this as both a gift and a profound burden. He could see people's complexes and unconscious patterns instantly, which gave him tremendous confidence, because he was never confused by external performances. But it also made him dangerous to systems that depend on general unconsciousness. When you can see projection at work, you cannot be manipulated through it. When you understand shadow dynamics, you cannot be controlled through psychological blackmail. Consciousness is dangerous to unconsciousness. Light is dangerous to operations that require darkness. You see others more clearly than they see themselves. You understand the dynamics they're unconscious of. This creates a confidence that others find unsettling. You remain too calm in chaos, because you understand the psychological dynamics creating it. You remain too clear in confusion, because you see the underlying patterns. You are too certain in uncertainty, because you know what is actually happening beneath the surface noise of the collective unconscious. And you are not identified with the chaos. The sixth and final source of dangerous confidence. You've stopped performing yourself and started being yourself. Jung discovered that most people are trying to seem confident. You simply are. This non-performance is deeply threatening to a world organized around constant public performance. When you stop performing, you expose the fact that performance is actually optional. When you are genuinely authentic, you inadvertently expose the inauthenticity of those around you. When you are real, you make the falseness of others vividly visible. Jung, after his own crisis, stopped performing the role of the respectable academic. He built his stone tower, painted his mandalas, and explored what truly called to him. His confidence became dangerous because it was based on meeting the standards of his own authentic nature, not external standards of psychiatric respectability. When you stop performing confidence and start being confident, Your energy is no longer depleted by maintaining a fragile external image. Your presence carries weight because it is real. Your words carry power because they are true. Your actions carry impact because they are authentic. This is the most dangerous confidence of all, the confidence of someone who stopped trying to convince anyone of anything, including themselves. These 6 truths, the acceptance of weakness as strength, the certainty of survival, the integration of the shadow, the declaration of self-sovereignty, the insight of consciousness, and the power of non-performance, create something Jung called the confidence of wholeness. This is not the brittle confidence of the ego, which is easily shattered by critique. It is the unshakable certainty of the self, the ultimate goal of individuation. It's the knowledge of someone who knows themselves completely. Your confidence becomes dangerous because it's based on truth rather than illusion, wholeness rather than partiality, authenticity rather than performance. Most people will find it unsettling as it challenges their own defenses and triggers their unconscious material. But for others, it will be profoundly liberating. Jung's final word on confidence remains the guiding principle. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. That is the ultimate dangerous confidence, being so completely yourself that nothing and no one can make you be anything else.